Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our weekly session. This is a place where we come in and we learn together. And I hope you're as excited as it makes us happy every week as we do this thing. We do a little something on that beeping. So, karibuni sana. I hope you've had an amazing week. You have applied what we did last week. Okay, let's go back. Here's where we are. All right. So karibuni sana to the quick story series. We do this every Tuesday from 7 p.m. We like to do 75 minutes. Usually we are able to meet that number. And this is the African MSME Collective. My name is Chesubire Talitwala, and my co-founder is Joe Mokoko. And we offer a place for young businesses or those of us in transition into business to come and learn, or even those who've been in business for a while who are looking for something new at 10, there is space for you. So every Tuesday we have a different conversation, and this month we're talking about money. I laughed the other day when I realized this is also June, when we're all filing our returns. I hope you have filed the returns, at least Kenyans. Don't want the government to be after us. So we're talking about money, maybe not in the very conventional way, but we'll be giving you absolutely amazing insights that you can apply to all parts of your business, even if maybe when we're teaching it from one facet. So I would like to know, what is your biggest challenge with money? And you can put that in the chat section. In all the years you have been earning money, whether for biashara, or for business, or let me see, whether in biashara or in other ways, what is your biggest challenge with money? I would like to see a couple of them before we start, because maybe we are not answering your questions this month. What's your biggest challenge or your biggest fear? You can choose one of those. Let's see those ones in the chat section. I met somebody who said the biggest fear is if they make too much money because they will not know how to handle it. And I thought that was very honest. What are our money challenges? Just quickly, let's see some in the chat. If you're bold enough, you can unmute and share. If you are bold enough, you can unmute and share. What are the things we think about when we see the word money or finance? Any takers? Okay, I can see money is kind of a sore spot for many of us. Anyone? What are your thoughts about money? I have 3 of my friends on the call. I may just put you on the spot. When you hear money, what do you think about? Is it's hard to make? Is it that it never lasts? So yesterday in a conversation not yesterday, today is Tuesday, on Sunday, we had a conversation with our young people at church. And the question one of them asked is money ever enough? And what do you think our response was? Need more money always. Yep, we all do. Anyone else? Anybody else? So this is really why we like to do money conversations, because somehow talking about finances seems to bother many of us. So this month, what we're doing is we're looking through simple budgeting for outreach. Remember, we ended last month talking about when we are doing pop-up stands, other publicity activities. Then we'll talk about effective pricing strategies. Will help us calculate return on investment. Now, that's one you cannot miss. It is going to be an amazing conversation. And then how to know when you're broken even. And finally, the last Tuesday of the month, we have our quarterly traction lab. What happens in our traction lab is that we look at everything we've done this quarter and we put it into a plan for next quarter. So please, please, please plan to be here for these 5 sessions. Today, we're jumping into simple budgeting for outreach. Now, remember we talked last week about maybe doing a pop-up stand, doing an exhibition, a trade fair, or testing in different locations. Now, the principles we are going to teach in reference to an outreach, you can actually apply them into your everyday business, because really financial principles are financial principles. So let's jump in. What we want to ensure this month, we're talking about cost control, or how do we get the most out of what we have, right? So what outreach activity gives the highest return for the least spend is really the question I want you to keep in your mind and answer by the end. And then we'll always have a very simple tool. So we'll give you a simple outreach template. It's very simple. And then cost awareness and smarter spending is really what I want you to come out of here with. Now, remember, you can apply this to your marketing only, or you can apply to different aspects, different projects that you're running. These are actually patterns we use. So this is important because when many of us go for outreach, we use marketing, we do events, promotions, networking activities. So please understand that when you as a business owner go for that cocktail that you paid for, or that conference that you paid for, that is an outreach activity. It needs to bring a return. Recently, I was invited to attend a conference and the ticket price was 55,000. I laughed. Why did I laugh? Because at this point in time, no, I don't have the 55,000 to spend in 2 days. So then they came back and they said, oh, by the way, we brought the cost down to 20K. I'm like, still a lot. Then he came back and said, okay, what would you pay? I said, listen, I'm going for a summit, 5,500 for 2 days. Maybe another one I'm going for is 10,000. So if you tell me 55, I'm not coming. So now we are sitting there and we've been negotiating back and forth on prices, and we've kind of agreed on a lower price for a single day attendance, though it's a 2-day conference. But you see, when I go there, it needs to bring back enough business to cover that ticket price. So that's what I need you to figure out. If you're going to go for a 2-day conference, you need to make back what you have paid for the ticket price, plus maybe what you would have earned that day. Not maybe, plus what you'd have earned that day. So that's how we end up having to be a lot more deliberate about the places we go. So very few of us ask ourselves, is this outreach creating enough value to justify the cost? So imagine I went for the 55K one. That's 55,000, right? But let's say I make 10,000 a day. That the cost of that event is actually 75,000. Can I make 75,000 through that activity? Or am I pegging that activity to just a learning curve? Last week, Thursday and Friday, we were at a summit. And I remember asking one of the vendors who has been in the community before, did you make your money back? And she said to me, I have learned that these activities and events, sometimes you just go and make contacts. Maybe you will make money later. So I said to her, you must track every lead that comes and know which ones have come from this event, because that is how you'll make your money back. She said, no. This one is just for me, a learning curve. So I realized she has pegged that event as tuition. She's trying to access more people in a target market to test the product and see whether she can expand it. But what we must understand is every place we go, we must draw value. So if we don't have a budget, outreach is just another activity. When you're planning your annual budget, you need to plan for outreach. But how do you put the cost of outreach into your annual budget without actually budgeting this thing or figuring it out? But when you have a budget for your outreach, now it becomes an actual strategy. Why do I say that? Many of us say, to tender to happen, we'll just go there. And then when you just go there and you don't make a return and you come back upset, you have nothing against which to measure what you are doing, right? So at the end of the day, outreach budgets is actually part of your marketing strategy, all right? So by the time you calculate your marketing costs, many of us will probably just put their social media ad, digital marketing ads, 5,000. And then we go for 5 exhibitions through the year, and we wonder why when we get our books done, they can't quite figure out where things are going. All those exhibitions, all those opportunities you are going to pursue to meet people, to make contacts, that's part of your marketing budget. So it needs to return. So budgeting is not guessing. or saying no to spending. That's not budgeting. Neither is it tracking expenses after expenditure. If you have spent, you're not budgeting, right? Neither is it limiting growth, avoiding investment, things only accountants do, punishment or excessive control. No. And the biggest thing is budget, and this is a controversial statement, but I like to say it, budgeting is not a thing weak people do. Why do I say that? Imagine you know your income is 100K and you only allocate yourself 5K as just random spending. You cannot be a weak person. You have to be strong enough to say no to yourself. That's why budgeting is not for the weak. The same way we say parenting and marriage are not for the faint-hearted, right? So budgeting is the process of planning how available or expected resources will be sent to achieve specific goals. You see that specific goal there? When you're working out your targets per month or per year, your targets are pegged to your spending or what you want to make. Sorry, your income, your desired income, right? And then you will also remove forecast your possible expenses. There are things you can forecast regularly, like salaries, like rent, like airtime. You kind of have an average that you use. But are you specifically putting in a budget line for your outreach activities under your marketing budget? Because it is deciding what outcomes resources should produce. So we can say all we want to do when we go to exhibitions is break even. So then if we spend 20K, we want to make 20K. All right. Again, it is not a tool for saying no. It's not about saying no. It's really an intentional decision-making tool that helps us direct resources towards what matters. So think about it. The year is 2026. You didn't have a budget. Can you this year at least track your marketing and your outreach expenditure so that next year you can plug it into the budget? Can you at least do that? All right. So when we say it's in an intentional decision-making tool, it is sitting there and figuring we want to get this size of market. These are the activities we need to do. Inside them is outreach. This is the cost of outreach. So then you actually begin to use this kind of information to calculate your customer acquisition cost. How much does it take for you to get a new customer? So all these things go into that. All right. It is a growth tool. So when you look at your budget, and you know, many of us think, oh, it is so limiting. Look at it as the reins you need or the holdback you need so that you can grow. It is also an evaluation matrix that asks three critical questions that we must always have front and center. What are we trying to achieve? Let's say we're trying to achieve higher sales, right? What will it cost? It will cost us some digital marketing. It will cost us 3 expos and maybe two little stands outside our shop, all right? So what does that cost? That's what you will cost. And then how will we know if it worked? If it worked, then we will know for every 20K we spent in marketing, we made 20K. All right. If you find that the outreach you're doing, you're not generating equal or more sales, then you know that may not be the better tool for you. So when we say an evaluation matrix, remember we've just said it's a growth tool. That means that whatever we want to achieve, we have to have tied it into some activities, and those activities are costed here. So then we can say it is the way of ensuring every shilling spent contributes to our broader goals. What are some of our goals? Growth, customer acquisition and retention, visibility, impact, sustainability. So how does this that we have spent on activity X contribute to goal A, B, or C? That's how budgeting helps us. It helps us actually know, are we viable? Should we still be doing these things? And if we are doing activities that are not giving us the right returns, then it is really the tool that tells us, stop that. So that's why budgeting is so important, because it helps us figure out, did we send these things to the right direction? Are they doing what they were supposed to do? And are they coming back to us? All right. So if we're together and Parker there, let's put a BGT in the comment section. I see, Mary, you said money circulates. Excellent. If you are still with me and I have not, excellent, BGT in the comment. Thank you. I can see them coming. Excellent. Now that we realize that budgeting is our friend, and a budget is our friend. For those of us who've never liked budgets, please, I hope you are comforted that it can be a very good friend, right? So what do we now want to look at? We want to look at elements that will help us have the right budget. So finance that fuels our goals. Thing number one is count the cost. Many of us only see direct costs in outreach. Even in our businesses or when we're pricing our products, that's what we're going to talk about pricing next week. We only see the direct costs and we miss others. Which ones do we miss? We miss transport. You see, we'll say the table is going to be 12,000, right? And that's where we stop. We forget that maybe our people are coming from different directions, some farther than usual, so we have to cover the transport. Maybe we need to get bundles for when we're there. Maybe we need to add data for call time for our teams when they're there. In terms of our samples, do you know sometimes we don't even cost the sweets we give people? All right. We are sitting there like, oh, I have all the little components, but I forgot I needed to buy, if I'm doing beauty products, I needed to buy Q sticks for people to, to test and pick. I needed to buy, wipes, so that when people are testing the product, so you're doing lotion A and now you want to test the feel of lotion of butter B, you need to be able to clean your hands so that then you're not having the same one. So when you look at it, have you consistently considered everything you have? Let's say you went to site and you ran out of brochures. So you will do a second run. You will need to get a rider to deliver. That's an additional cost. So then what do we need to do? We need to make provisions. Even if we're printing in advance, before we leave the office to go for that trade fair, we need to, even as we plan, we need to know how much transport will cost, what is the venue cost, what branding materials do we have, are we replacing our banners, are our banners okay, are we doing flyers, are we doing cute, some people do very cute bookmarks or business cards. So what else are we giving around as branding materials? Have we covered all the incidentals? Now, one of the biggest things we forget to budget for is follow-up activities. We look at it in terms of, this is the event, it has happened. But let's say you meet 60 people who are like, please call me next week. You sold product, you want to check on them and see how their use is going. So you need to figure out what your follow-up activities will be, and then you budget for the same, so that by the time you even begin to finalize on this, your budget, you have a lot more that is already ready. So you see, you count the cost by pre-thinking and predetermining what potentially could be the other elements that will come up as costs, right? That's number one. In the place of counting costs, this is really a very basic formula that has worked for me many times. Direct sales plus hidden cost and time investment. So now you need to calculate what your time is worth and what your team's time is worth. So direct cost, we all know what those are. The brochures, the venue, the branding, all those ones we know. The hidden cost could be like what I described in terms of the potential for an additional delivery. Have we catered and budgeted for staff meals? Many of us don't, and then our staff teams are online and on site for so long, they're hungry, so they become moody. Then you're told, oh, it wasn't such a good experience. Kumbe, it was just hunger. All right. So those are some of the costs we do not think about. Direct cost and branding also could include, if you're all going to wear the same kind of shirts, you're going to print shirts. That's a direct cost. Or what element are you putting in to your dressing that will be part of your marketing budget? Now, time investment, you need to figure out what it costs to have that person there. The other element of time investment, let's say you're taking on casuals, right? And you need to bring them up to speed for how your business and your stand run. That's another time investment you must cater for and calculate for. So when you're looking at time investment, a very simple formula, which I got from one of my friends who's a finance person, is take your current or that person's current pay. So let's say we pay our team member 25,000. That's just an estimate. All right. And then we work for an average. Let's say you're a company who works Monday to Saturday. So they work for 6 days a week. So that is 24 days a month. So what you'll do, you will take their 25,000, divide it by the 24 days, and then you get their daily wage. Now you calculate like that. Some of you will see how you're paying your staff very little. All right. Or you're being paid very little. So your daily wage at that point, 25,000 for 24 days is 1,042. So many of us look at our staff and we say, but I pay you a salary. So maybe what you could decide to do is for every day that they are on site at an activation, you may not pay them their full salary because anyway they're earning their salary, but maybe you'll give them an additional 500 shillings if that's a staff member. If it's a casual or somebody you're bringing on board, of course you will agree a rate, right? So that is how you calculate time investment, and you do the same thing for yourself. Now, many of us business owners are like, but I don't pay myself, which is wrong, eh? But what you look at is what your equivalent salary should be and do the same calculation. You see, you've counted all these other things, but you haven't counted yourself. Maybe you've counted the transport for your team members. Have you put the cost of your fuel if you're driving them? Right? So there are all these things you must ensure, depending on your business, you unpack. If I go to a conference, of course, I'll be showcasing my skill. I may be a moderator, I may be a panelist, or I may just be an attendee. But when I'm calculating my cost of attendance for a conference, remember I said it is the total cost of the conference. So if it's a 2-day and it's a 10,000, which means it's 5,000 a day plus my time. Whatever I will value my time to be at. I do have a valuation, but that is yeah. So let's say my valuation is also another 5K, right, per day. So that conference, the cost of that conference for me to go for 2 days is 20,000. So I need to make that back in sales. I'll give an example. This last week, I was talking to a speaker who did a conference in Nairobi last week, and he had come in from out of town. So he had to get accommodation. He traveled down. I think he took the shuttle down. He got accommodation. He's in Nairobi for 5 days. And this conference where he went to speak, they didn't have the caliber of investors he was looking for. So that was a 50K bust. Straight up. Now, it was so funny because as we talked as business owners, says, now I need to find another job that will bring in 50K that will write off this marketing cost. Otherwise, marketing will never, never forgive me. Why? Because he took 50K out of the marketing budget to come. Right? So I also remember a few years ago, we're doing a conference, one of the societies I'm part of, and we had an international donor. Well, he was an international businessman coming in, and he was asked by one of our patrons' friends to sponsor the cocktail. And he said he will sponsor on 2 conditions. One, of course, he gets official invoice and receipt, but number 2, he gets a banner printed. Now, Chesubire, story banner, she forgot about. Then I was the lead event manager on that project. As a lead PM and event manager, on the day he arrives, he asks, so is my banner ready yet? Whee, I'd forgotten. So I sat at my desk. I reached out to one of my personal friends who is a designer and a printer. I said, I need a favor. Please, I beg you, give me a discount. This is coming out of pocket. I got the banner designed, printed, delivered, and put up. Now, this guy is from Silicon Valley. So remember, he's spent $2,500 on us. He must get a return. So we had to have everything in place. Then he's like, come and take for me a picture. I sent to marketing. right? What was his return? The number of young people he got to see and inspire and is now watching as they continue to build their design careers. So when you look at it like that, his ticket was not a direct cost to us because he was coming for a different activity. So thank you, that activity that had to give him that value. But we needed to give him back value for the $2,500 he had spent on us. So when you understand that your cost, you make better decisions. I think some of us will now begin to think, this one, has it really been adding value to us? So what we are actually asking ourselves is, what will this cost me? What do I expect in return? And is this the best use of my resources right now? This is the biggest part of budgeting for outreach, because if you cannot answer the last one, is it the best use of my resources now? You should not embark on that one until you can fully answer that question. We are not in business to feel good. We are in business to make money. That's the intention. However, if we do not know all our costs, then we cannot know whether or not we are actually in business. So then we look at the other issue, that which visibility is valuable, because not all visibility is the same, right? So we ask ourselves these three questions. Sorry, this single question and then three examples. Did this activity move the business forward? Or will this activity actually move the business forward? Now, remember, when we go for sponsorships from big companies, why they're hesitant to give us um, funding sometimes is because they cannot directly answer this question. Let's say you go to a bank and you invite them to sponsor your fund day. Will it generate accounts for them? How will it return their investment to them? How will it push the business forward? So let's say you go out and you get 3 paying customers, and whatever price it is they pay for your product may outperform 50 business cards. Or a WhatsApp campaign will likely get you, depending on your brand, more sales than a billboard, right? Especially if you're a small business, your WhatsApp campaign may get you more than a billboard. Or a focused event. So you know you're designing products for this specific focus group, then it may outperform a large exhibition. Let me give an example. If you're in beauty products and there's a big general manufacturer's exhibition against an event for women, like maybe 50 to 100 women in a room, and you have beautiful beauty products, you may sell more at this smaller event than at the huge exhibition. At the huge exhibition, you may get a lot of interest and you may even get a bulk buyer, but sometimes the value is in the focused event. So really what you're looking at is what visibility will support your business objectives, and that is the visibility you go for. I won't really harp on this one because we did this in depth 2 weeks ago, and all the videos are up on the African MSME Collective channel. So please feel free to go there and catch that whole series on marketing. All right. So we must budget according to our expenses. The budget should follow our goal. Sorry, that should be according to expectations. Are we looking to get leads? What is it we are looking to get out of this activation? So let's say we bake and we have just moved our product into the major supermarkets, or we make granola and our granola has just landed in the supermarkets. Maybe you'll decide to put a small kiosk or a small desk inside the supermarket, different supermarkets every week, to get people to taste. What exactly are you looking for in that activity? Are you looking for leads? Are you looking for sales? Is it awareness, retention, research? What is it you're looking for? And then you review the activity based on, will it actually, at the cost it is asking for, deliver what I want? So you must match your goal according to your expectations and the expenses related to those expectations. If you cannot conclusively calculate at least to a 90% certainty, either there's a problem in how you're budgeting, or there is inadequate information on return on investment. We had this conversation. Some of my young people put me to the carpet on Friday when they were asking. We had gone for an exhibition and they just asked me, how do you actually calculate your return on investment for being here for 2 days? Very, very honest question, because they're looking at what we have done, how tired we are, we have expended ourselves, and they're like, what's the return? And I love that conversation because now it got us to very deep growth conversations with them as well as they choose what lines of income they pick. So really the process, I like to call the process very simple. You start small. So instead of going for that big exhibition where the table is 50K, can you find a place where you can test the possibilities of how outreach goes for you with a smaller event? So maybe where you find, let me do some marketing for somebody. Vicky has a mixer every first Friday of the month, and the table is, I think, 2,500, and the community is business owners and some professionals. So that would be a good place to start before you go to the exhibition stand for 20K. So you test small, then you measure the results, and then you take the same, maybe if you can get the same table price elsewhere, something a little bit more, you go and you test there. At every step, you test and measure results. Remember, what we spent conclusively is what we want to make back. We're not just trying to make back the table cost. We're trying to make back every cost related to moving my infrastructure from my office to this place, all right? When you measure the results and review, ask yourself, what have I learned from here? What worked? What didn't work? What could have worked if we did 1, 2, 3? So then that is what you take to improvement. What worked, you maintain. What didn't work, you figure out why it didn't work, which means a lot of introspection. You figure out why it didn't work, what could have been done to make it work, if it would have worked at all, or just needs to be shelved. And then you scale what works. So this becomes your cycle. After every outreach opportunity, you come back, you review yourself. So let's say you went for a conference for 2.5. What did you gain from there? Maybe not the right people in the room. So now you realize that maybe to meet the right people in the room, you need to be in the 55,000 shilling conference. Right? So then you will probably go and try a 10K one, a 20, or just move, make the leap. Will there be times that whatever budget we put together, we bust? Yes. But at least you need to have a framework as you are starting. All right. So really don't confuse confidence with evidence. We made money. Show us where the money is. One of the things you have to be as a business owner is brutal with yourself. Did we actually make money? If we did not, let us not hide our heads in the sand. We are not ostriches. Right? Many of us go for events. This is a feel-good event. You go there, you spend your let's say you went by Uber, so you spent your 700 shillings one way, that's 1,400 two way. The ticket price was 2,500 to get in, and then of course you needed to buy food, so you spent another 2,000 bob, and then you saw products you like, so you end up spending another 3,000 bob on products. What you have done is you have spent 8,900. How'd you make it back? We're not a charity. We're not. We're running a business that must be profitable. We must be profitable. So when you look at it like this, you could do certain things like now, if you refuse to shop, I think it's always good to shop and sample people's things. But maybe the thing you would do is reduce what you would need to purchase to eat and reduce your shopping. Right? Because the 1,400 and the 2.5 is how you get there. Or instead of Uber, you go by Mat. It's a fraction of the cost. right? So what you have to do is consistently look at your numbers. Know your numbers, expand your growth. So you have to really start small, measure, then scale. Do not scale without this. And then, of course, you come back and review. And I think I've said this very often. What worked, what didn't work, what surprised us, what should continue, stop, or be improved. This review is at every point. It's not right after the end. So at the end of day one, let's say it's a 2-day activity. You're like, what worked, what didn't work? What do we keep more of? What do we bring less of? So you could go there and you realize you have body butters, perfume, I don't know what. The things people are picking are the butters, the lip balm, and maybe your exfoliation scrub. That's what you bring. You have everything else, but this is what is moving, fast moving goods. So you ensure your fast moving goods are there and available. Please understand that review is at every point. So if you notice, I've talked to review through review at every point. It is just put in as a separate point. The idea is to look at the actual expenditure and the items spent on it, and then understand what worked, what didn't, because understanding transforms our spending into learning. If we do not know what worked, we cannot shift, we cannot change, we cannot streamline or get better. All right. And then learning informs future decisions. So this is a very basic template, and it just to give you the idea. So I decided that I went for an exhibition, and then I need you guys to help me with the math. That's why I didn't finish the math. So our planned costs, we planned 1,500 for materials. We were printing some cute folded bookmarks. Have you guys seen those things where on the top it could be a flower, or it could be a butterfly, or it could be, if you're in the ice cream business, it's an ice cream cone. Anyway, we were putting some really cool merchandise. So we budgeted 1,500. Actual cost was 1,850. So we had a loss of 350. All right. And then we thought, transport. Transport will just fuel maybe a quarter of a tank. Then what happened? Fuel prices happened. Ish. So our cost went to 45.50. So we overspent. Sorry, that should be a minus. We overspent by 2,250. Our sold price was 15,000. Planned actual was 15,000. So there was no change there. Then we planned for advertising costs, no running ads, before, during, and after, for 8K across multiple platforms, and we only did 6.5, so we saved some money there. We had no plan for follow-up activities, but it cost us because some people wanted meetings, some people wanted demos, so we needed to go to where they are. So that ended up being a cost we hadn't factored in. And then other costs included, so there were additional transport costs because now we couldn't drop people as far as we could have taken them. So we ended up giving people money for cabs, for fare, for different things. We had not budgeted for food, as you can see. So we had a team of 4, so we needed to feed them for the 3 days we were there. And then there were just other incidentals like deliveries. Can you see how you can plan? Somebody do the math for the plan section for me. Right? So we had planned to spend. Who is my mathematician? Just come on board and work with me. Also must cost our time. Yes, we must cost our time. All right. So we had planned to spend 1,500, 2,600 for transport, 15,000 for stand, 8,000 for advert. So we had planned to spend 22,750. Excellent. What was our actual cost? We are at 32,700, right? So can you see how leaving some gaps or having your actual cost changes can really do a number on you, because that's an extra 10,000 shillings that we spent. So when we say we have made return on investment on this particular activity, we need to have made at least 32,700. So that's what it means. 2710. Okay. Let us see. Ah, it is 41,700. In fact, I had missed 10 on the 10,000 I had done. So can you see the disparity? Our planned, it is almost a 50% increase, right? It's an additional 19,000. So can you see now how you can plan for something, a marketing activity, and it goes off the rails because of just losses? Unplanned. You see these follow-up activities that we never put in, we never catered for? The hidden costs or the incidental costs that we did not cater for. Can we see where we are? Yes, you are right. It's 14 because the cost is 27,100. Can you see how you can end up with a business loss by not fully catering or fully calculating your marketing? So now imagine, perchance, that this marketing is not the only place that you have miscalculated. What if on your product side, you had also miscalculated? Yes, actually it's 41,700. Yes. So actually it's 41,700. Projected is 27,100. So the difference is 14,600. Can you see how we unexpectedly and unknowingly snooker ourselves? So we use this as outreach because next week we're going to be looking at how do we price our products. All right. We will also find that sometimes in our product pricing, there are things we have not applied. The same way here, there are things we've not applied. Now, when we come to break even, we'll be looking at what point are we now making pure profit? Why are these numbers important? Many of us are theoretically running profitable businesses, theoretically. When you come to do the math or your accountant asks you questions, you're like, fix it, figure it out. No, 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 no. You as a business owner must know your numbers first. I know many of us say, oh, I don't like numbers. We have no option but to love numbers because numbers don't lie. If you're running retail and you're doing a supermarket and you don't have a point of sale system, how do you know that you're not losing product? If you're running a salon, how do you know that whatever you buy is actually being used internally? And sometimes in the salon business is the easiest business to get played in. I was told of a lady who, well, all her team did was get a till that was very similar to the existing till. So what would happen is that people will tell you, this till is not working, use this one. And the difference is 1 digit. So one day a friend of hers, when she did a service, they gave her the new till. She's like, sour. Then she's like, let me make a call. And she called her. She's like, did you change your till? She's like, no. They had even registered a name that was very similar to her business so that people would not get confused. So like has been put in the chat, we are the captain of the plane. If we do, can you imagine if your captain did not know how to land or take off or at least stay on course? That's what many of us do in our businesses. That is why when we look at marketing costs, they are part of the budget. And many of our budgets don't work because we end up spending on marketing, but we didn't have a budget for it. All right. So, in conclusion, let's land this plane. You need to ask yourself which activity consumed the most money recently. Did it return? Did it give you a good return? You also need to figure out which activity of all the marketing ones you're doing is producing the best return. And this is all evidence-based. You are running the numbers. You are calculating the margins. You are sitting down. You have a dashboard that is helping you look at it effectively. You're looking across all 6 activations you plan to do during the year. If the first 2 have not done as well, what can you learn from those and tweak? And then you must make a decision. Remember, your budget is going to help you make decisions because it's a decision-making tool. You will be able to say, money has run out. We don't have any more money for activations. So how will we generate clients? We have to get creative with the little we have, all right? So I need you to reflect about that. And over the next week, review one outreach activity you did, then calculate its total cost, the leads generated, the sales generated, and the lessons learned. Now, I was talking to somebody who runs a marketing agency, and they were doing marketing for a company, and the target is generating leads. And I said to her, do not offer to close because she's a marketing agency. She's not a sales agency. And there is a very big difference. So as she went, she's like, okay. As she went, she's like, that is the thing that's causing us headache because they're expecting us to convert. I said, you're not a sales agency. If you are to convert, that's a different contract. When my role is lead generation, as long as I give you leads, I've accomplished. I have accomplished. I gave you leads. It is your role and your team's role to close. So that's what we must begin to understand. What have we generated? What are the leads that came? What is the income we earned? How did it change our business? That's what we must be thinking about. Otherwise, we're in trouble. All right? So, when you look at your business currently, are your activations actually making you impact or income, or are they just somewhere there in the middle? All right? So the goal is to spend smarter, not just to spend less, but spend smarter, which means we're spending on the things that grow us. But growth cannot be driven by only activity. It is also driven by the intentional decisions we make that are supported by clear numbers. Clear numbers. So if you're only breaking even, hallelujah, amen, you're breaking even, but how can you expand to be in profit? We want to make profit with every sale, even if it is your first sale. Profit with every sale. So it is about intention, not restriction. It is about helping us decide where money should go, what results we expect, and whether our spending is supporting our goals. So at the end of the day, budgeting is not a bad thing. It's not. It's just that thing that allows us to rein in our numbers. It allows us to understand whether our goals are being delivered within profit. It's what tells us what results to expect. Do we have questions? Do we have questions? Turnover is vanity, profit is sanity. Absolutely. Any questions or reflections? What has stood out for you? I'm glad. Thank you, Dorothy. What has stood out for you? What is one thing you can go and apply? Anyone who wants to share? You can put it in the chat. Or budgeting, is it budget is intentional? Yes, it is. Across all areas. Yes, and it is not a restriction. Oh, it's not a restriction. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Let me hand over to Mr. Mukoko. Consider all costs, then account for the difference between planned and actual. Excellent. Because your business will have to pay for it anyway. Being visible is not the same as being effective. Yes, being visible is not the same as being effective. All right. And for our most active members today, we will send you a digital copy of Daily Anchors. So Daily Anchors is a book of declarations that I wrote early in this year. So Dorothy and Vicky, you will each get a digital copy of Daily Anchors. You are welcome. All right, there you are, Mr. Mukoko. Over to you. Let me get you the other slides.
I've been here. I was just listening to you as you gave out copies of Daily Anchors and getting feedback from the team and finding out how everyone is. So thank you. It's about intention, not restriction. Confirm you can hear me? Oh, kindly confirm you can hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
It's about intention, not restriction. So I love the way we've ended the conversation today. Good to see all of you. Chisubiri, I need a copy of the Daily Anchor, but a physical copy. Autograph it. And then you tell me how the money will get to you.
And
Now,
in
because I was
fact, I
not
had
active,
it. I forgot.
In fact, I remembered now when I had talked about it and I was asked, where is my book? I was like, okay, Sawa, we shall figure out how we get it. So thank you very much for that powerful conversation. And what has really stood out for me as we were having that conversation, let me just go back to my notes. I also have notes. I go back to where we had that. When we have a tool to achieve and how close we are to achieving the goals that we have set out for ourselves. And thank you even for the analysis that you're able to do for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, after today, what do we do? As we said, as always, it is good for you to give us feedback. The feedback allows us to iterate our programming to you and our offerings. And there is the link for the feedback for anyone who would like to give us feedback. If all of us can give feedback, it would be good. It helps us strengthen what we need to offer to you as our community members as we move along. So please do that. Then for anyone who would like to join our community and who has not joined our community, we invite you to join the circle. We are all leaders in our own rights. We are all influencers in our own right. And as influencers, it means there is a community that we are impacting. So together, we work to empower ourselves and inspire those around us to take action. By positively changing the communities that we work in, the world becomes a better place. We've been called to be stewards. So you're a steward in the places and the spaces that you serve. So join the group, and you could also share the link with your team members or anyone who you feel needs to join. I know this is always helpful, and we have seen the numbers grow and some of us being consistent in attending the event. So please do that even as we run. Thank you. Allow me to thank those of us who were able to attend the Nairobi Startup Summit. It was good. It was inspiring, and I am looking at my notes. It collaborated a lot with what we have been discussing in terms of consistency, clarity of where it is you would like to go, and making sure that you are credible for people to find you. Remember when Chesubiri was asking us, can people find you? So I think we were ahead of the summit. So take these lessons and keep on running even as we continue serving in the spaces that we are in. Allow me to thank our sponsors for their journey, and I'm also looking forward to, we are having a quarterly event in June, end of the last week of June, Chesubiri, right? Yes, June has got 4 weeks, right? And then we shall
It's
also be
5.
having it has 5.
It's 5.
One,
So yeah, we have
5
Traction Lab.
at the end. And then we have got our quarterly physical meetup on July 25th. We shall be sharing more details about that. So this month is all about finance, and finance in a simple way that allows you to then take action even as you move. So let's take note of that as we continue. Allow me to thank our sponsors: AFI Solutions, Chana Publishers Regroup, Shala Global, the Cube Innovation Hub, Akiko Stories, Haki Integrated Services, SOA Events Institute. Vicky is having an event next week, a physical event next week on Friday. Vicky, you could kindly share your poster in the community so that those who are around could attend next week on Friday. Powerful conversations happening. Then Aura Essentials Thai events, who we were able to, yes, it's this week, Vicky, yes. Please share in the community, in the WhatsApp group, so that we can be able to help mobilize for you. Then Thai events, who happened to have organized the Nairobi Startup Summit, very successful. Good conversations happening, as I have said. Conscious Works Consult, Zurich Consulting, Business Support Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have missed any episode, go to our YouTube channel. We keep on sharing the page. We shall share the link again even as we continue. So thank you all of you for attending today. Thank you for being consistent. Remember what I said, consistency. As leaders in the spaces that we operate in, consistency is key. Consistency is currency, even as we grow. So let's take note of that. So thanking all of us for being consistent, attending, putting in the work and growing. Those of you who have been able to share with us your socials as you grow, we are grateful because we have been able to watch your growth. Allow me to thank our back office team. They actually should be more like front office team because they are the defenders. Okay, back office, front office, central office. Okay, so let me use central office. Allow me to say thank you to our central office team, Ms. T-Bags, Mr. Kwe. Mr. Kwe did an amazing job with some shots. Thank God the ones of me dancing have not yet come to the community, so we will leave it there. Miss Mimo, Miss Wamboi, Miss Felicity, and Miss Julia for just holding fort even as we continue growing. So grateful to each and every one of us as we move and we grow together. Remember, it's a collective journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint, for us to get where we'd like to go. Coach Chesubire, your parting shot.
You are the captain of your ship. So if you know the
Hey,
numbers, you float. If you don't,
if you don't know, you will sink. Wait, that's
yeah.
profound.
Because think about it. If you get even 2 degrees
Profound.
off course, you're done. You could
Mm-hmm.
be heading for if you be going to the Suez Canal, but you're 2 degrees off course, you will land in Yemen.
Tell you. Yeah, you land in Yemen. Wait, okay. So we don't want people landing in Yemen. Okay. Thank you very much, Tisubre, for that. You're the captain of your ship. So, ladies and gentlemen, the power to change, the power to transform, the power to grow is in our hands. So,
Mm,
looking forward to continue experiencing growth with all of us as we work. And on behalf of the African MSME Collective, I remain the original Joe Mukoko, wishing you a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and a fantastic day wherever you are, and you're blessed. And may the seeds you plant fall on fertile ground,
mm.
that the harvest may be plentiful, even as you impact the rest around you. Thank you, and see you next week on Tuesday.
See you next week, everyone. Thank you, Terence. Good to see you. Thank you, Christy.
Ciao.
Ciao.